Hey, this is John for MTG Nexus coming at you with a very simple question. What is the modern format? Now, the modern format is probably at this point Magic's most popular constructed competitive format. I would say that Commander is probably a little bit more popular than Modern at the moment, but Modern is one of the more popular constructed formats. Now, Modern is one of the formats that are eternal in the Magic the Gathering world. That means that the cards do not rotate, unlike, say, Standard or Alchemy on MTG Arena. So you have access from a certain point of cards forward. That certain point starts with 8th edition and moves forward to almost all sets that are currently printed in Magic the Gathering, including supplementary sets such as Modern Horizons 1, Modern Horizons 2, and most recently the Lord of the Rings set. Now, how does Modern differ from other formats? For instance, Standard. Now, Standard is a rotating format. It used to be the 2 years worth of cards, now it's 3 years worth of cards, rotates every fall. Other formats include Pioneer and Legacy, which are the ones that are kind of in between what Modern is. Pioneer is a format from Return of Ravnica on, and Legacy is basically all cards of Magic with a much larger ban list than the Vintage format. What sets Modern apart from the formats? So, Standard, Modern has a much bigger play pool. It does not rotate. And you can hold on to your cards and archetypes, and generally speaking, it's going to be pretty reasonable for a long period of time. How does it differ from Pioneer? Now, Pioneer obviously has a lot shorter shelf life in terms of cards that are available to it. However, Pioneer also has one notable thing going on with it, and that is that Wizards decided to ban fetch lands. This means the mana is a little bit worse in the Pioneer format, and the delve cards and certain other things like Deathrite Shaman that are banned in the Modern format are available in the Pioneer format simply because it's a little bit lower power and those cards aren't quite as broken in a format without fetch lands. The other thing Modern has going for it is the fact that not only does it get to play fetch lands, but most of the mana bases are based around the tri-lands and the shock lands. Unlike, say, Legacy that has the original duels, and there are some other differences that we'll get into in a minute. The other thing that differentiates Modern over a format like Pioneer is because of specifically 8th edition, there are a number of powerful hate cards or cards that very much swing games. Cards like Blood Moon, Chalice of the Void, Ensnaring Bridge, which these true prison-esque cards don't exist in Pioneer, making you much more likely to be able to build different kinds of decks in Modern than in Pioneer. Now, the similarities the formats have, they have a lot of the same key cards, things like Thoughtseize, things like different kind of counter spells, different type of archetypes. They do share a lot of things across the board, but in general, Modern is a good bit more powerful and a good bit more lean than the Pioneer format. One thing that used to differentiate Modern from the Legacy format is there was not as many free spells. Legacy is known for its free abilities, things like Daze, Force of Will, those kind of things, the fast mana, etc. Modern has now its decent fair share of free spells, especially the pitch elementals in the form of Fury, Endurance, Grief, Solitude, and Subtlety. And also Force of Negation. Now, the difference is these spells are a little bit more specific in what they do. They're not kind of carte blanche like Force of Will can be used to counter any spell, whereas Force of Negation is you can only pitch it really during your opponent's turns. So there is a difference in the format in that regards. Modern is less powerful than Legacy, has less free spells, and Wizards has made it their goal to kind of make Modern not have as much in the way of free mana. Now, Legacy has a bunch of things like the Soul Lands, like City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, Mox Amber. Mox Amber is legal in both formats. Mox Diamond, etc. Chrome Mox that are all legal in the Legacy format. So the Legacy has a lot more fast mana. There's a lot more spell-based combo. Modern has your traditional aggressive, mid-range, control, and some variants of combo decks as well as ramp decks like Green Tron. If you really want to get into Modern, Modern is a format where a myriad of different playstyles can be found, whether it be aggressive decks like Burn and tribal decks like Merfolk, You can get into mid-range decks like Rakdos Scam or Is It Murktide, which is technically a tempo deck, but is somewhat mid-range in what it operates. You have control decks like Omnath Piles and Blue-White Control. And then you have ramp decks such as Green Tron and Amulet Titan, which can also be considered a combo deck. Then you have hard combo decks, things like Living End, Teamer Rhinos, Glimpse Combo, etc. So there's pretty much something for everyone in the format. So if you want to join us on this ride for describing the modern format, our next video in this series will be talking about the banned cards in the format.